Ibonds can help offset inflation and rising prices, but who are they really right for, and how do you actually go about buying them? That's going to be our topic on today's episode of Friends Talk Financial Planning, as we talk with Linda Stratton, a financial advisor at AIO Financial in Tucson, Arizona. Hi, I'm John Scherer, and I run Trinity Financial Planning in Middleton, Wisconsin.
And I'm Bridget Sullivan and I've got a fee-only financial practice in Chicago, Illinois. Oh, hey, John, before we get going with Linda, I want to just mention that we want to ask people to subscribe to Friends Talk Financial Planning. It helps us reach more people and gets us a little more respect with the Google. So, Linda, you are my inspiration with Ibonds, or one of my inspirations. When I was interested in them, I started asking you, and you've been using them for quite a while. And my question for you is, who are they good for? Like, so when do you recommend these? What are the qualities of the people that are going to be successful with these?
Well, I think the ideal person who would love Ibonds is somebody who is sitting on, a cash stash and is pretty liquid and is looking for a way to make their cash savings or cash reserves a little bit more productive. And I say a cash stash because there are some restrictions on Ibonds. For instance, when you first buy Ibonds, you can't liquidate them for a year. So you just have to be cognizant of that. That's the main restriction. If you liquidate them earlier than 5 years, you sacrifice 3 months of interest, but that's really a nominal amount. That's not that big a deal. Ibonds are still very liquid. And I consider Ibonds to be part of your cash savings, but they're kind of permanent cash savings. They're emergency funds. It's really, ideally, you won't have an emergency, so you won't be touching the Ibonds. I find that the advantages of Ibonds are they typically, not always, but typically will pay a higher interest rate than money market funds. I personally have had Ibonds since 2005, and over 16 years, I've found that to be very true. It's not 100% true, but it's like 95% true. So Ibonds are inflation adjusted US savings bonds. So you have a hedge in your cash stash against inflation by definition. Also, they're US government bonds, so they're super safe. You don't have to worry about any default risk. People really like that in their cash. And then they are tax deferred. So you don't pay tax on the interest until you redeem the bonds. So you can kind of control if you're in a high tax rate, peak earning years, you just sit on the bonds for years. They have a 30-year duration. They pay the interest for 30 years and then they mature. So they're just a great alternative to a long-term cash savings plan, they're also liquid should you need the cash.
And so, Linda, when you said that it's a 30-year bond, so it lasts it stays in place, right? I buy this kind of like if I had a CD or something that would stay in place. And yep. Then is there anything to do where it just sort of earns whatever the current interest rate is? Is it from that standpoint anyway, set it and forget it?
Exactly. Another limitation is that each social security number, each person can buy a maximum of 10,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So, but if you bought like, I don't know, you can buy the lowest denomination is $25. So you can buy any amount, any reserve cash, stash it in the Ibonds, maybe do it year after year. But so then they just click away, and the interest, since it's inflation adjusted, the interest rate on the bonds are adjusted May 1st and November 1st. I spend like the month before waiting for May 1st or November 1st, just I'm really dying to know what the new interest is going to be. And it's pegged to the CPI index. So the inflation adjustment happens every 6 months, but you don't do anything. You just, let your bonds just cook for all these years. And then like my Ibonds that I bought in 2005, will expire 14 years, not expire, but they'll stop earning interest in 14 years. So at that point, I have to redeem them just because there's no point to keeping them anymore. I could roll them over. But yeah, they're just very, long-term, let them cook, kind of forget about them, but not completely forget about them.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're different from an IRA or a 401k
Right.
because
Well, because you can only buy them through the Treasury, and the website is treasurydirect.gov. You would need to establish an account, link the account to your bank or credit union, and that's how you fund the Ibonds, buy the Ibonds. In the future, when you redeem them, they'd go back into that bank or credit union account.
So it seems like you've got to be decent on a computer for this to really work for you.
Yes. In the old days, a lot of people remember getting Ibonds as gifts from or EE bonds, where we only talk about Ibonds because of the inflation adjusted feature. I so much prefer that to any other type of savings bond, but they're no longer paper bonds. They're all electronic, and this has been true for over 10 years. So yes, you need to open an account, and then they have some security protocols, including two-factor authentication. In my case, my code goes to my email and I've got to plug it into the Ibond login. But yes.
Yeah. So they're security conscious at US Treasury Direct because I'm sure a lot of hackers would like to get everybody's information. So that means it's not, it's just one of those websites. It's kind of a pain. It's not meant to be save your password, make this easy type of financial institution, but that's what helps make them safe.
It makes it safe. I mean, I do feel pretty secure every time I go through the steps to log into the account. And I think there's a kind of a plus side on the hassle. It's not a super hassle, but it's harder than logging into my checking account. But it's also, the plus side is that you're not inclined to mess with your savings bonds. Whereas when you have a chunk of cash in checking, it's like, oh, what can I do with that? In other words, where can I spend it? Whereas it's a special event to log into your Treasury Direct account, and then you go, oh wow, look what I'm earning, and how much money do I have in there? And great, it's conducive to the long-term keep the cash in the Ibonds plan.
So do you think Hallmark is going to start making like banners? Celebrate Ibond interest. Anyway.
Yeah. Semi-annual Ibond interest day, right? You can send
yeah.
each other
Right.
I thought it was a really important point that you made earlier, Linda, and it kind of ties in with it, like the opposite side of, hey, you sort of put it in there and just let it ride, right? So it's not easy to get into, so you're not tempted to go, oh, what kind of shiny thing can I buy? But at the same time, you said earlier that you can access those. They are liquid. So it sounds like it's sort of one of those things that in reality it's liquid, but sort of in people's minds, you have that envelope type theory, right? Like, oh, it's sitting over here and it's earning good interest now. And right. So it's that sort of middle ground perhaps between locking things up for real and also just having, a completely liquid cash sitting around that you feel you might spend. Is that an accurate description?
That's true. That's a very good description. Yeah. It just because the process of holding the Ibonds, it's just a slightly different process, and it's almost like putting it in a separate box. However, if you feel like, let's say you've got $10,000 of Ibonds in your account, and let's say you say, well, I'm having a car repair emergency. I would like to use some of the bonds. So provided you're past the 1 year period on your older bonds, you don't have to redeem all 10,000. You can just say, oh, I'm going to redeem 1,000, and you will have that money, I believe, the next day when you transfer it to your checking account. And that process is super easy within the Treasury Direct account.
So I've got one more question, and that is about so this separate box, it seems like it's something that you still need to be able to remember and communicate to other people so that they know you have them. Like if you die, you want somebody else to know you've got this thing. Like it's not
Right,
something that's going to be showing up in your email every month.
right.
Or that they're going to be sending you a lot of obnoxious marketing emails. You don't want it to become the money in the wall that somebody
Nobody knows about.
somebody find like, what's this money doing in the wall, or money buried in the garden, that nobody
It's
ever
like money
knows
in the
about.
computer.
Yeah,
Right.
Money in the
Right.
computer. It is. I mean, it's because it's electronic. And as you said, Bridget, they don't send you statements. You're not getting a report. You have to go in there yourself and see what's going on. So yes, somewhere in your estate planning file, you need to, let your successor know how to get in here. It's also important to title the account. When you buy the bonds, you can choose how to title them. And if you're married, I recommend really, having a joint bond, or having your spouse be the beneficiary of the account, or somebody being the beneficiary of the account, because that can be hard to extract in the case of the owner's death.
Okay.
So just that step makes it much easier, like as most account titling decisions go. Ibonds are no different, and they do give you options, multiple options on how to title bonds. And I believe if you have a trust, I think you can title them as in the name of the trust, but I'm not positive about that.
Awesome. So I think with that, we can wrap this up. I'm Bridget Sullivan Mermel, and I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. And I want to mention that we are all members. We know Linda is through ACP, or the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners. It's a group of tax-focused, comprehensive financial planners that serve people in all over the country. You can check out acp.org.
That's right. So if you enjoy the things we talk about here, do check out acp.org. And also, as a final reminder, subscribe to Friends Talk Financial Planning and help other people find this good information. Linda, thanks so much for being on. This was really great. Learned a lot today. I appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure. It was fun. Thank
All
you.
right. Yep. Thanks, you guys.